I'd like to focus my statements today, though, on the first proposed amendment, which is relating to housing choice vouchers. For purposes of this amendment, I'll put aside my strong view that we need to quadruple the appropriation of funding for housing choice vouchers to address the enormous gap between the 2.3 million households with vouchers and the remainder of the 11 million extremely low-income families who need them. I'd like to instead focus on how the housing choice voucher program could be improved within its existing budget. And specifically, I'd like the committee to explore how we can eliminate obstacles to the deployment of vouchers. For example, most public housing agencies understandably impose a use it or lose it deadline for families and individuals to secure an apartment with a voucher, typically within 180 days. A 2021 HUD study showed that only 61% of people who received a voucher in 2019 were able to secure housing within 180 days, leaving too many extremely low-income families who waited years in line for a voucher. They remain unserved, often losing that voucher as a result. A more recent study in December of 24 and by Freddie Mac concluded that despite concerted efforts to encourage more deployment of housing opportunity vouchers in high opportunity areas, barriers continue to impede their utilization in those neighborhoods and instead remain disproportionately concentrated in high poverty neighborhoods. These obstacles may include restrictive source of income standards, lack of provisional approvals of apartments where local housing authority inspections are delayed, and a balkanized and inefficient voucher delivery system that often has multiple agencies serving the same regional market, creating conflicting mandates for landlords and for tenants. The area of my greatest concern, however, arises from barriers that prevent the nimble deployment of vouchers with more innovative approaches to reduce street homelessness. This grows out of my experience as mayor of San Jose and out of the frustrations of many of my mayoral colleagues of both parties in other cities. San Jose is a city of 1 million residents and one of 44 cities in this country with at least 1,000 unhoused residents. And in case you're wondering, a great majority of those 44 cities are outside of the state of California. They're in cities like Miami and Dallas and Las Vegas. Homelessness is a national crisis growing at 18% last year and afflicting 770,000 Americans. The conventional approach to building housing in many major U.S. metros is too slow and too costly to address this crisis for reasons we're all familiar with. Among other reforms, we must use more innovative housing models and construction methods to bend the cost curve and build housing at a speed that the homelessness crisis demands. Some of those approaches, including the use of prefabricated housing and modular housing, can be deployed with a unionized, well-paid workforce. Cities and counties throughout the nation are launching innovative housing models to address homelessness, but because their access to vouchers is often precluded by rigidities in existing federal law, they cannot pay for the operations and maintenance of those developments, nor pay for supportive services such as mental health and job placement. Section 8 is often interpreted too narrowly to prevent the use of housing choice vouchers for those pioneering approaches to moving people off the street. In San Jose, for example, in only 30 months, we constructed 5 communities of more than 500 units of prefabricated modular dormitories on public land at 1/10 the cost and 1/5 the time of constructing conventional apartment buildings. These dorms provided residents with private bedrooms and private bathrooms, utilities, hot water services for mental health and job placement. By the time I left office at the end of 2022, unsheltered homelessness had dropped nearly 11% that year, despite going up elsewhere in the state. And many other cities started to adopt this model and launch similar projects in their cities. One obstacle halted our progress and the progress of all those other cities, however. It prevented the scaling of these innovative models, and that is that housing choice vouchers could not be deployed at any of these projects. As a result, cities stopped building new prefabricated dorms because they could not bear the additional cost of operations, maintenance, and services without the help of vouchers, which typically would have paid for those services with any nonprofit or for-profit building owner, including local housing authorities. We should understand how we can enable greater flexibility in the deployment of housing choice vouchers to combat our homelessness crisis. Thank you very much.